All right, folks. Well, let's get started. Just a few minutes after noon here on January the 14th. Welcome all to January's Network Tech Talk. It is so lovely to be with you, and it is wonderful seeing everybody this afternoon. For those of you that have not attended in the past, Central Maine Tech Night is a monthly, typically evening event, where in our small group setting, founders and leaders share real advice on how they overcame challenges, capitalized on their target market, and developed their product, providing you with actionable insight for your own products and processes. You may find us on Facebook or online at centralmaine.org at the Tech Night tab. I'd like to thank our sponsors for this afternoon. This free event is presented by the Central Maine Growth Council and is sponsored by CGI, Thomas College's Harold Alfond Institute for Business Innovation, Valley Beverage, and Bricks Co-working and Innovation Space in downtown Waterville, Maine, the Hathaway Creative Center. Of course, we miss seeing people in person at our typical location at Bricks. So again, thank you to our sponsors. In addition to either the folks watching from work or home right now, this broadcast is being streamed live and is being recorded for future viewing on YouTube. Really excited for this Network Tech Talk. We have a wonderful deck and presentation for everybody. January's Network Tech Talk is an introduction of Minnow. Minnow, keeping food secure and people safe, with Chuck Thompson, Vice President of Sales and Development of Minnow. In this Network Tech Talk, Chuck will discuss how Minnow is on a mission to create a better food delivery and pickup experience with its contact-free pickup pods, which keep food secure and people safe. For people not familiar with Minnow, Minnow pickup pods enable food service operators and commercial property managers to provide a safer and more convenient food experience. With that said, Chuck, welcome.
Garvin, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. Looking forward to sharing what we're up to. It's great to be a tech company in Maine and seeing the growth opportunities. So I'm really looking forward to talking to the audience today. So should I go ahead and share my screen here and we'll get going?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to go yes. We're going to share this screen and I'm going to bring up my deck. Great. We'll just make sure that comes up. Okay, good. So again, Sabrina, Garvin, thank you so much for inviting me to talk to the group today. What I'm planning to do is talk a little bit about, I'd like to share a little bit of background and some proof points on what's going on in today's the food tech space. And some companies are doing to improve the self-service pickup experience as well as the safety. And then I'll talk a little bit about what Minnow is doing, and we'll give you some specific examples of the 3 target markets that we're going after. And then I'm really excited because I'm going to show you a live demo. So behind me, we have a 10 cubby Minnow pod, and I'm going to go ahead and invite people to provide their cell phone, and we'll allow people, I'll deliver an order using their contact information, and then you'll be able to open the cubby remotely using your cell phone. So just a little bit about me. So I'm here in Yarmouth, right? So we're close to Portland. And as a kid, I grew up, we have a family home in Friendship, which is about an hour and a half north of here on the coast. And I always enjoyed, I was just smitten with Maine. And I went to school and grew up in Wisconsin. We would fly back every summer and went to college and then lived in a variety of cities in Boston and Cleveland, Milwaukee, Minneapolis. And about 10 years ago, I had my daughter Mia, which is on the left. But then we had the 2 boys who came, and we were in a small 2-bedroom condo downtown Minneapolis. And we made a lifestyle decision to come back to Maine. So we came to Yarmouth 10 years ago, and we never looked back. But as somebody that was in technology, I was always getting on a plane and flying here or there. And it was great when you came back to the airport, you see the lobster on the jetway and it says welcome home. So it's really exciting to be part of a technology company that's here located in Maine. So I want to start with a quick proof point to talk about some of the major trends that are going on in the food space today. So this is a picture of a Little Caesars store. And I was involved with a company called Apex Supply Chain. And Little Caesars, they wanted to improve the pickup experience. They wanted to launch a mobile app and they wanted to have self-service pickup. So in the previous world, they would produce pizzas and put them into the hot holding cabinets you see behind the counter there. But they really wanted to improve this. So we, from a white sheet of paper, developed what's called the Pizza Portal. So the Pizza Portal is a hot holding cabinet that allows the orders to be scanned into the back of the oven, and then a message is created and sent to the customer, and they will then come into the restaurant. They have a QR code, they scan it on the QR code reader, and the door opens from the front. So this was a really incredible project. It actually was a $56 million project, and we deployed this to 3,500 stores in about a year and a half. So it really was an incredible, groundbreaking project. And so when you think about some of the business results, I wonder if I should minimize this here. When you think about some of the business results that were achieved, Little Caesars did a lot of studies like secret shoppers, and they kept track of a 4-year promotional average. And just the fact that people would come in and pick up their pizza from the Pizza Portal, as opposed to from across the counter, right, being handed to them by an attendant, the perception of value grew by 21%. The product satisfaction, in other words, the taste of the pizza, was increased by 12%. The same pizza, just getting it through the Pizza Portal and that experience. And most importantly, the repurchase intent, the thought of, hey, this was a good experience, it tasted well, I got value. The repurchasing intent increased by 38%. So these are incredible numbers. And it ultimately drove same-store sales up by double digits. So I wanted to start with this by sharing how important and the business potential of a self-service, convenient, safe and secure pickup experience. So now we're going to talk a little bit about Minnow. So I know that data point out there. I was really excited about what the pickup experience could provide to the customer. And I started doing some research on who are some of the top technology companies in Maine. And Minnow actually was one of the top 10 technology startups in Maine. So I reached out to Stephen Sperry, who's the CEO, and Jana Belfort, who is a founder and runs our manufacturing organization. And we started to talk. And we started to talk about what's happening here. The fact that our economy is transitioning to a contact-free economy. Whether you're picking up something, groceries or hardware at the hardware store, at Home Depots and Lowe's, people are using mobile ordering, they're using self-service kiosks, and they're picking up in a self-service manner. So then we kind of get to February, March, when COVID started to descend, right, on our country, on the world. And the food delivery and pickup experience really was impacted and changed. This is an actual picture of how DoorDash instructed their drivers to deliver food to their customers. So they would come and they would drop their insulated cooler. They'd have to back up 2 meters. They'd have the customer come get their food, and they'd back up. And we realized that there was an opportunity to use Minnow's safe and secure, contact-free food pickup technology to deliver a better experience. So this is what we have created. This is, we're on our 6th generation of hardware design, really focused on a human-centered hardware design to make it aesthetically pleasing and really easy to use. And you can see one of these pods behind me. This particular pod was in a building called Pac West. So we were delivering lunches at Pac West in Portland, Oregon. And you can see it wonderfully fits in the kind of high-end interior of some of these buildings. So we started to do some surveys, and we realized that 98% of the tenants, they really wanted a contact-free food pickup experience. And so we had over 1,000 users in Portland alone using our system. And we reached out to them and we said, in this new world, how would you prefer to get food that's delivered to you? Would you prefer to get it from an unattended table where DoorDash or Uber Eats drop it off on a table and then message you and then they leave? Would you prefer to get it directly from a delivery person in the lobby and kind of meet face to face? Or would you prefer to get it from the Minnow pod? And it's amazing. You can't even, 98% of the people won't agree that the sun is going to rise tomorrow, but you can see the consensus of the Minnow users. They really wanted to be able to pick up their food from the Minnow pod. So let's talk about what the pod is. This pod was specifically designed for food. You may have seen other locker systems out there, like the Amazon locker systems. You might have seen pickup locker systems at Home Depot or Lowe's, Walmart. Walmart has pickup towers. They have all kinds of innovation to be able to support self-service pickup. There's even self-service pickup for groceries. But this pod was specifically designed to be aesthetically pleasing and to have a fresh, clean, healthy appearance. So the cubbies are individually lit. We've been considering antimicrobial coatings for the inside of the cubby. Each compartment is individually insulated. So if you put hot food in the cubby, it will stay hot. If you put cold food in a cubby right next to it, we will keep that compartment insulated so there's no heat transfer. So we're really excited. Again, we're on our 6th generation of hardware, and I'm going to be demonstrating this in a moment. One thing that's really important to notice is that there is no user interface. There is no barcode scanner. There's no touch screen. There's nothing to touch in terms of the interaction of the device. What we're going to show you is that it's all done through your mobile device. That is the user interface. So I'm just going to talk for a moment about 3 use cases, and then we're going to get to an actual demonstration. So our first use case is called scheduled group delivery. So this is where you put a Minnow pod in an office building or a mall, at a college campus, someplace where people are working, they're studying, they're there on a reoccurring basis. And they know that they're going to need breakfast, they might need a morning snack, they might need lunch, they might want dinner. So what we're doing is we're providing the opportunity to pre-order meals. We'll send those orders to a local participating restaurant. So they might make 15 or 20 meals at a time, and there might be 5 or 10 of these pods on campus. So it's 15 or 20 meals per pod. So now they're delivering all of these meals at one time to the pod, say at noon or at 5 o'clock to take home for dinner. So instead of paying 30% for DoorDash, right, you're paying a $1 delivery fee to be able to deliver to the Minnow pod. So that's scheduled group delivery. I just thought I would share this. So this is a ghost kitchen that's in Gorham, Maine. So Karen Nason is the owner, and she had done this incredible build out of Grand Central Wine Bar, and millions of dollars in the build out. And unfortunately, COVID hit, and people are now not going to restaurants. So she is reinventing herself. She has purchased this space, and it's now a ghost kitchen. So ghost kitchens provide multiple concepts. So what she's doing is you can purchase online any of these concepts. So Brooklyn Benny's is pizza, Mediterranean, soups, American burgers, Bliss Bowl, or Thai food. You can order all of these concepts from her menu, and there is no real storefront. There's no dining room. So you can go into her store and you can collect your food from the Minnow pod right there at the door as you come in. Or they're also going to be doing hourly deliveries to the University of Southern Maine at the Student Center, which is about 3 blocks away. So this is a really interesting concept, this concept of ghost kitchens, where you're really focused on online ordering, producing food, right, in the kitchen, and then delivering it. So it's all online, it's all delivery. There's really no dining room for you to come in and eat. So that's an example of schedule group delivery and remote delivery. We'll talk for a minute about in-store pickup. So in-store pickup is when the dining rooms do come back, mobile orders will be sent to the restaurant, they'll be produced, and they'll be delivered to the pod. So then you'll get a pickup notification and you'll be able to come in at your leisure, click the link on your phone and get your food. So we've got this deployed at a half a dozen locations at the moment, and we're testing the business value and the customer experience. So here's an example of where a Minnow pod, this is down at, this is at Yale in New Haven. It's at a restaurant called Be Natural. So what they used to do is they would put their orders on the table there, as you can see. And part of the challenge is sometimes a DoorDash driver will come in and they'll grab the wrong order. So by putting the food in the pod, not only is it self-service, is it safe and secure and convenient, but it also tends to error-proof the process of who's picking up what order. So there's a lot of value to the restaurant as well as the customer. Here's an example of a pop-up restaurant we did in New York City. So you can see 2 Minnow pods on both ends. So they stood this up as a little mini restaurant to showcase sake and sushi right before Christmas. I'm going to talk about the last use case, and then we're going to do the demonstration. So the last use case is what we call open delivery. So this is where you would put a Minnow pod in an office building or in a multifamily residential, maybe 100 units or more. And instead of having to have the delivery driver come into the building and go up an elevator and find you, or for you to have to come down and meet the delivery driver, again, you've got to have that synchronous transfer, and they're also face-to-face. The delivery driver could be Uber Eats, DoorDash, or even a local restaurant that's delivering, has delivery capability on their own. They'll deliver to the pod. You'll get a notification. The delivery driver can go back to their next delivery and you come down and pick up your order when it's convenient for you. And so the target market for us here is Class A multifamily residential and large office space, typically built within the last 10 years. And there's about 45,000 of these buildings out in the United States. A huge market opportunity for Minnow to create this shrink-wrapped product. Again, the hardware and the software, stand the pod up in a half an hour, and now the residents are able to get food delivered right to their pod. So I'm gonna take a break. I don't know if there are any questions or comments. I'm also interested in showing the demonstration, but I thought I'd just take a break for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. If folks have any comments or questions, feel free to jump in right now or put them in the comments section. Maybe just a quick one from me, Chuck, and my apologies if I'm stepping on a later slide. Can you just touch on who owns the hardware? What does that deal look like? Say I want a Minnow, how is that structured, and kind of what's the back end structure of that deal look like on those elements you feel comfortable discussing?
No, absolutely. So we're very proud of our open, easy, transparent pricing. So you have 2 ways to acquire the Minnow pod. One is you can purchase the pod for $39.99, so it's essentially $1,000, and then you own it. But to make it come alive, we want to connect it to our cloud service. So you can see behind me, there are 3 antennas up there. So one is a Wi-Fi antenna, 2 are mobile antennas. So this is an Internet of Things IoT device. It connects to the internet, and we manage the health we monitor it, and we're constantly sending messages back to the pod to open the door for a delivery or open door for a resident. And so the ongoing software cost is about $160 a month, right? So you can buy hardware, pay a month subscription, or you can sign up for a complete subscription. This is where you sign up for a 3-year or 5-year term, and you simply pay a monthly fee in the $300 to $350 range, depending upon the term. So we're offering both methods, and we're gonna see which one is the most popular.
Great, thank you for that. Helpful and interesting pricing model as well.
Great. All right, so I might, if there are any questions, we'll keep them coming here, but I'm gonna see if I can't get out and pull up the, let's do this here. Minnow, let's go. Minnow pod. Let's go to takeout. I'm gonna come over here. All right. Oops, I spelled it wrong. Bear with me.
And for folks that are tuned in, Chuck is teeing up a demo for us right now.
Right. So what I'm going to show you is the user interface that you would use if you're a restaurant owner, and how you would deliver a pod, and then how you would receive them. So I would have a URL. This happens to be Chuck's Barn. I'm in Yarmouth, and this is we call Minnow Labs. And then you can see a representation of the pod. And so if I was a restaurant worker and I had an order, I would come in here and I would say, I want to create an order. I create it by phone, my customer name, order number. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my phone, open one. So I'll take the order and I'll put it in and I'll shut the cubby. And when I go ready for pickup, you'll see it turns green. So my cell phone is in there. And so now what's happened is I've created an order. Our cloud software is creating a unique URL for me, and it's going to text it to my phone. And I'll also, so here we go. I just got it, and I'm gonna let somebody else do this in a moment. And so I'm clicking on that link. It sends me the text message with the URL. I click on the URL, and it's going to bring up a web-driven workflow that allows me to go ahead and open the order. And all right, so this is what it looks like. It says, are you at the cubby? If you're at the cubby, open cubby 1 and get your order. So I'll just go ahead and click that, and it will open the cubby and I can get my order. So do I have any volunteers for anyone who wants to get lunch or anything?
I'll be your guinea pig here, or your tester.
Okay.
You want my mobile?
Sure.
207 272
272
2243.
So I'm manually entering this right now. So this system requires no integration whatsoever if you have the customer's phone number and you type it in. But we are exploring, we've got 2 integrations underway with Toast and with Square, which are restaurant POS systems. So we'll be pulling down this customer information directly from the POS. So as soon as I hit ready for pickup, it will generate your pickup code and you'll be able to walk through the process.
All right. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
What's for lunch, Chuck?
I have a delicious disc sanding paper in here. So,
oh, nice. Time to review my fiber intake, I guess.
Yes.
All right. Standing by.
So did you get the text message?
Yep, and just came in very nicely right now. Very visually appealing, very clean, very nice and concise. Reads very simply as well. Your order is ready in the pickup pod at Minnow Labs. To pick up and bring your phone to the to pick up, bring your phone to the pickup pod and tap this link, which I'm doing right now. Very seamless. Very nice. And then I'm assuming this is when I would go to the pod and I would click to access.
You'd be at the pod and just click on that button and it'll open the cubby. There you go. Now, what you just did is really interesting.
Very cool.
We didn't realize at first that feature to let your daughter, your coworker, your friend, somebody other than, so you can open it at the pod, you can open it remotely. So, operating in Portland, when a colleague would go down to the pod, he would simply open his meal or the cubby remotely from his desk. That was really cool. I want to show you another. So any questions? Any questions at all?
I would just say very seamless. Took just a couple of seconds. Very straightforward. I would say that really anybody could figure this out. No education gap. So very cool as from the UI perspective.
I'll show you another thing. So that's the restaurant use case. But now let's talk about the residential use case where Uber Eats is coming in. So if you have an order and you need to deliver to the pod, the delivery driver will come in and they'll scan. Actually, I'm going to go like this here. Kill everything. They'll scan the QR code. And if you look, that at the top of the screen, it's saying, open up this web-driven UI. So now I'm the delivery driver, and I'm going to go ahead and walk through the process. So it asks me, do I want to deliver or do I want to pick up? So I'm the Uber Eats driver. There's no integration. I go, I want to deliver. So it's now going to say, okay, pick a cubby that you want to deliver. So I'm going to go ahead and select a cubby. And it now says, enter the delivery ID of the recipient. So if we put one of these pods up at a building, there's an onboarding process where people sign up for a free Minnow account. And you all would get a delivery ID. So now in your delivery profile for Uber Eats or DoorDash, you simply say, please deliver the food to the Minnow pod using this delivery ID. And so I will put my delivery ID in here, which naturally is Packers because I grew up in Wisconsin. And so it's saying deliver to Chuck T. And I say yes. So and now the delivery driver can put the meal, right, in the cubby, in the lobby. When he closes, he says, notify customer, and now I will receive the text message. So in this situation, there's no integration required at all with the delivery services. And we're able to support this use case seamlessly. So we're super excited about the opportunity this represents to get these pods distributed in office space, multifamily residential, college and universities. So it's super clean, super convenient, super safe. And we're really excited to be growing this business and to have significant parts of our operation in the state of Maine. It makes us very proud. So I guess with that, Garvin, maybe I will just, again, take another pause to see if there are any questions or comments or feedback.
Yeah, and awesome stuff, Chuck. Very neat and cool on the end user side for folks watching right now or later on. Very seamless. Entire process took less than 60 seconds. In fact, the minute the text message right on your mobile hit, we were talking through that process in about 10 to 20 seconds. Kind of zipped right through. Very cool. Any questions or comments from folks with us? I have a question. Fran, go ahead.
Hey, Chuck, that is really, really cool. And Garvin, thank you for setting this tech night presentation up. Chuck, you don't know, a lot of other people here might know that I am the director of Healthy Northern Kennebec, which is a community health program organization here based in Waterville. And one of the things I'm really passionate about is making sure everybody has healthy food to eat. And one of the things that Kim knows about, Molly was here earlier, we've been trying to source food from, say, Colby College to our community members who are in need. And a couple of different ideas, lots of ideas have come out. One being sort of a community refrigerator, which seems a little sketchy to me. You know, you're not really sure who's putting stuff in, who's putting stuff out, but a product like this might be really safe and secure. And also, you know, we're concerned about food safety. So it seems pretty cool. And I don't want to blow your mind here, but when you were talking about Class A multifamily units, I was thinking, and also maybe public housing, you know?
Well, absolutely. So we are involved in a competition called the Beyond the Bag competition. And it's sponsored by some of the major retailers, Walmart, Kroger. We're a finalist in it. And part of their charter is to find innovative ways to eliminate the plastic bag, right, from our lives. And so in talking with Kroger, so this competition, IDEO, which is an innovation company, is kind of managing the process, and the participating retailers, one of them is Kroger. So part of the process is really having a detailed discussion with the retailer around how could you use the solution. And one of the things that they had talked about is kind of a Meals on Wheels for public housing, for subsidized daycare, for a lot of places where maybe they don't necessarily eat the best food. So you could have a kitchen that wants to donate meals. You could have the front end interface for them to order what they want, right? And then those meals are delivered discreetly or, you know, privately, right? Sometimes people might be, you know, they don't want everyone to know that they're getting assistance, and they simply come up to the pod, they get their meal and pick up their kids and away they go. So Kroger is definitely interested in this type of, you know, giving back to the community.
Yeah. Hey, Chuck, I would say, again, if you're interested in piloting anything like that, Waterville would be a cool place to start. We have a lot of volunteers, we have a lot of connections, and we are working with our current restaurants, food providers, institutions, including Maine General and Colby College, to provide food, which is prepared to people who need prepared food. And this is a cool way to do it, especially in the world of COVID, when our volunteers are at risk. We don't want to put the volunteers at risk either. So
right.
I'd love to have more conversation if this kind of turns some thoughts in your head. I mean, I just joined because it said food and safety, and I'm like, that's me.
That's enough. Right.
So
No,
I'd love to talk more.
Yeah, talk more. I'd be happy to. You know, and it's ideal because, so you talk about food safety. So one of the features that we have is you're not allowed to, there's a configurable pickup window. So it is prepared food, it's packaged. And one way is to leave it on an open shelf, but we know that's the third rail these days. People don't want that. But you can deliver the meals to the pod, and you could say that the pickup window is an hour, hour and a half, or 2 hours. So you have a greater degree of control over it. It's contact free, right? And it's also kept secure. People aren't tampering with your food and opening a bag and trying to figure out which one is theirs. So I'd be happy to talk further about it.
Yeah, I just think that's a really cool idea. And, I think that it would be an interesting, innovative tech and service project if people wanted to do a grant. I think it would be really interesting.
Kroger, I don't know if Kroger actually has locations out here, but I know we can talk. We can talk.
Yeah, Hannaford, Shaw's, I mean, those are more our area, but we do a lot of work with Walmart too.
Right.
So
Yep.
anyway, I
Okay.
just wanted to throw that out there as not necessarily the Class A multifamily units, but maybe just in the community in some way. So
Exactly. In
thought.
college. Yep.
Great,
So
great.
any other questions or comments, Garvin? Do we see anything else out there in the chat or?
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in, and anybody else that would like to shoot anything over on the comment section or jump in, please feel free to do so. And Fran, thank you for those great inputs. I share your enthusiasm that I'd love us to be a Minnow community. I think that would be really awesome. Chuck, can you touch on maybe some of the resources, partners, programs that Minnow took advantage of, particularly early on? Or even today, and that can be from Maine or beyond. I do understand you guys are both East Coast and West Coast, but what have been some key success factors when it comes to either the entrepreneurial landscape or some of those resources or initiatives, whether it's grants or technical assistance?
I think so. So the company was founded by two people, Stephen Sperry and Jana Belfort, and the company's about a 3.5-year-old company now. So we are in the seed stage. So we started the company really with, Stephen had some of his own money. He's had a very successful previous venture. The company that IPO'd, he was, took some time sailing for a while, and then he came back and he really he started thinking about the food delivery process. And he felt that it was broken. It was expensive. It's kind of the restaurants love it and hate it. They pay a lot of commissions, but they do get a lot of business. So anyway, he went out to an angel network. They got angel funding, and I think they started there. Then they closed a smaller round. So we've raised so far a little over $3.4 million. And we're now raising what we call a C+. So we're attempting to go out by the end of, say, Q2, close the Seed Plus round. We're not going to venture or to angel investors. We're really looking at the venture community. Sometimes people will only say, if it's not 20 or $50 million, we're not involved. So it's a narrower slice, but we are going out to the venture community to raise the Seed Plus round. We have taken advantage of a lot of local resources, machine shops, some 3D CAD design services. We've taken advantage of some local boat shops that have actually helped us with some of the woodwork and some of the painting. So we've kind of worked with the local community to really build the pod. And then the financing is being supported by Stephen, who is actually now in Seattle.
All right, wonderful, and great news, and hopefully future success on that fundraising round right now currently as well.
Yeah, thank you.
And just a question from Fran in the comment section here. The pods look like they're multiples of 10. And also a question is, did we see a 20-unit pod? So I guess, what is the composition of, or configurables, if you will? How many different kind of product lines, I guess, do you have?
So our initial product was a 20 cubby device, and this would be a great device for individual prepared meals. It's not going to be great for catering, large families, but individual prepared meals. Those pods are actually now operating in Japan. So they are at Mitsubishi buildings where there's a lot of people that are, the restaurant, the food prep area is in the basement, and they don't want a bunch of people going up and down in the elevators. So people are pre-ordering meals. They're being produced in the basement, being brought up in a cart, and then they're being bulk loaded. So every single cubby door will open, and they put the meals in, they close the doors, and people get the pickup notifications. What you see behind me is a 10 cubby device. Our next generation pod is probably going to go to 4 cubbies because we're trying to increase the size. So what we anticipate doing is we anticipate the launch product that's built with production tooling will probably be in the market in Q2 timeframe. That device is going to be able to support use cases for takeout in the restaurants, as well as delivery to buildings. And then from there, we envision adding additional configurations to the product line. But it looks like at launch for us, we're going to be going with an 8 cubby device that will give more size for larger meals. But that doesn't mean we couldn't build a 20 cubby device for other use cases. It's just not the launch product. But we do have them running in Japan.
Great. Awesome question, Fran. Thank you for that. Chuck, you touched on this a little bit at the onset, but can you give us kind of a thumbnail sketch on where you guys are currently located, the hardware that is, and then anything related to kind of maybe your market strategy or customer acquisition, or what does that look like breaking into the market?
Right. So as I mentioned, the 2 founders were from Maine. So right now, our hardware design group and our hardware engineering are in Maine. Actually had a co-working space downtown in Portland. And we had a contract manufacturer in Newburyport, Massachusetts. And at the moment, what we're looking for is a contract manufacturer that can produce hundreds of these a month. So we're looking at a couple of different potential vendors in the Northeast and the Midwest. So that's super exciting. From a customer acquisition perspective, we're really trying to target large property management companies that manage a large portfolio of business. So these are companies like Irvine Company. So we've got 2 pods that are being finished here that are being sent out to California next week. Those are going, one is going in Westwood Gateway, which is a large office complex, and another is going in a building called Astoria, which is a super high-end multifamily residential location. So we'll be testing the hardware, we'll be testing the software. But Irvine Company, they're one of the largest, multifamily residential property companies in the United States. So they're looking at that as a test bed. If it goes well, it then will be a solution that's offered throughout their portfolio. We have a strategic agreement with JLL. So JLL, they're headquartered in Chicago. They're also a large property management company, maybe a little bit more on the office space side. But they've invited us to put a pod right downtown Chicago at their corporate headquarters, so they can receive safe and secure contact-free food deliveries. And as their customers come into Chicago, they'll see one of these shiny, glistening pods as a proof point of some of the things that they're doing, right, to get people back to work safely.
Great, thank you for that, Chuck. So we're seeing that in the background. It looks very aesthetically pleasing. It looks like it's under 6 foot. I can't tell really depth perception.
A little over.
Little bit over.
I'm 6'2".
How many iterations of this product have you had? I mean, obviously there's a lot of design ethos that looks like it went into that. What has that product development journey been for you guys?
Sure, absolutely. So again, our founder, Yana, he spent 8 years at a company called IDEO. So IDEO is all about if you are trying to develop a new product, a new concept, and you're trying to bring things, ideas together and conceptualize it and then reduce it to a design. He really it was an expert in that field. Again, he spent 8 years there. So he brought that human-centered design expertise to Minnow. And we recognize that this pod is not going to be back of house. It's going to be front of house. It's going to be in the public space. So it needs to be aesthetically pleasing, and it needs to be incredibly simple to use. So you had mentioned even some of the graphics, some of the messaging when you get your pickup notification. There's a rendering of the pod, and there's a woman strutting in to get her food. A lot of those details are highly coordinated so that people, it can be internationalized. Like, we don't necessarily have to rely on the text. You're really trying to create something that's elegant, simple, and quite frankly, beautiful. And I think Yana and his team have done a great job there.
Great. Fascinating. And the hard work on the front end really shows on the back end on the hardware there. You
like I say, sometimes it's hard to write a short letter, right?
Exactly. If we had more time, we'd write shorter letters. You hinted at this at the onset about maybe an emerging East Asia markets. And just again, there kind of maybe the global appeal and simple, right? Simple is good. What does this, and maybe more looking out into the future, but what does the global perspective of Minnow look like in terms of either those markets or
Sure.
East Asian preferences even?
Right. So
will we be able to get a lobster and a minnow in Asia?
Yeah, exactly. So we have a Minnow Japan. So we have a joint venture that is operating the pods and promoting them. And as some of you may know, Japan is it's the home for vending, right? And if you go to China right now, there's all kinds of options for self-service. There's a lot of investment in autonomous vehicles and robotics, self-service vending. So we see ourselves riding a really nice wave in that sense. I was on the phone yesterday with somebody from Belgium. I've got a meeting tomorrow with a micro market company that does vending from Portugal. We've got inquiries from all around the world. There seems to be a lot of, we seem to have hit on a vein, not only in terms of the design of the hardware, but in terms of the simplicity of the software platform, right? So it's an IoT device, it's a very powerful, flexible software backend that can be leveraged in a variety of use cases. So our plan is to try to, launch the production hardware in the US, but we see it very quickly expanding around the globe.
That's spectacular. Very exciting as well. Maybe dovetailing out of that, and always do like to ask, where do you see Minnow in, say, the next 5 years, and what does that trajectory of growth look like for Minnow? And if there is an exit strategy that you feel comfortable touching on, what's the future growth look like, and what's an exit look like?
Right. So we envision a future where the Minnow pods are essentially ubiquitous. They're in buildings, college campuses, corporate housing, right? So we envision them. We just know that people, once they taste the convenience and safety of a Minnow pod, that it's going to be the ante. So we see a path to $100 million business in 5 or 6 years. And we see, there are solutions called residential package management systems, where in an apartment, if you're receiving UPS or FedEx, US Mail, that they would go into these package mail systems. So there are companies like Parcel Pending, Luxor One, Package Concierge, Florence Corp. All those companies were startups that were all acquired, and they were acquired in the $20 to $100 million range fairly quickly. We see the market opportunity for Minnow pods to be significantly larger than that. So we see a potential, people that would be interested in our platform and our technology would be the Walmarts of the world, the Krogers, the Whole Foods, the Amazons, or even some of the delivery services people. As we start to get, 100, 1,000, 10,000 of these pods out in operation, you could really see folks like DoorDash or Uber Eats recognizing that it improves their customer experience. So they could put up a DoorDash pod, and it could be a giant billboard for DoorDash. And those deliveries could be, right now we're not integrated, but there could be an integration to make a very seamless, experience. So we want to think big, and we think the sky is the limit. So.
Really spectacular. I'll pause here if anybody has additional questions. Chuck, so appreciated. Between the hardware, software, the potential of future integration points and partnerships, the tech, the reach, the ubiquitousness of it, all such exciting stuff. So really so appreciate this and your presentation here today.
That's my pleasure.
So just scanning here for any other questions. Fran, thank you. Another comment and sharing your thoughts here again about we would love to be a Minnow community here shortly, hopefully. So with that said, thank you to the folks watching at home. Thank you to everybody here online with us for January's Network Tech Talk. Thank you to Chuck and of course Chuck's team, both here and globally and around the US. Thank you for joining us for our monthly Tech Night. Next month will be Forage. Thank you to our sponsors, CGI, Harold Alfon Institute for Business Innovation, Valley Beverage, and Bricks Co-working and Innovation Space. We will be posting this Tech Talk shortly online at centralmaine.org under the Tech Night tab. And we so look forward to seeing everybody next month and hopefully getting back with people one-on-one, face-to-face in the near future. Chuck, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you and have a wonderful rest of the day.